Let's go. All right, rundown. Ryan Preece. Oh, Brain. Sorry, Brain. Okay, Ryan Preece. Man, here we are, finding ourselves in a situation where you want to back Ryan Preece. He looked good in qualifying. He looked bad in practice, but he's up there and he's feisty. And after we saw what happened last week with Kyle Larson, I feel like Preece thinks he needs to win. And that kind of scares me when it comes to backing him in matchups. I mean, I was talking to Derek Yoder earlier, and I feel like Preece is either going to run in the top 3 or not finish inside the top 10. Does that make sense? Like, we're either going to see Ryan Preece race up there for the win all day long, or he's going to force it, get pissed off, and find himself running 10th to 15th. I think that that's a definite possibility with that team right now. Something about just he has a great car, and he's in a position where he thinks he can win. So he forces it more. And I think that's all drivers. If you're a 26th place car and you're running 15th, you're probably pretty happy with that finish. You feel like you're stealing some spots. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not that high on Preece. I don't think you should be betting Preece in matchups. If you do like him, maybe take him top 3 and win. That would be my advice on Ryan Preece. Moving on to Daniel Suarez. Not high on Daniel Suarez at all. Did not look super fast in practice. Fell off a little bit. Remember, he was in Group A, and we got to talk about this Group A and Group B real quick. Most of the fast guys were in Group A, and that's because the track didn't have any rubber on it. They had some grip early. Obviously, they had a little bit of fall off late, but it was way more slick when that rubber was down. So I think you have to kind of take Group B with a grain of salt. It's really hard to do. I have on my sheet here, I have everybody noted that was in the fast group and the slow group. And then it's like, okay, who's going to be like actually better when they're all on the same track at the same time with the same amount of rubber getting laid down? It's going to be really, it'll be interesting to see what happens. But Daniel Suarez was in Group A, was kind of fast in the short run and then fell off a lot. So I kind of anticipate more of that from him. I did fade Daniel Suarez with some guys at some plus payouts that I'll get to in a minute here. Eric Almirola. Well, Eric, you look damn good in practice, and you were in Group B. Here's the problem with you, Eric. I never know if you're going to be good or bad based on practice and qualifying. Based on practice, you look like a top 5 car. I'd love to back you in all these matchups where I think you are matched up against inferior cars. But I lose if I bet on you or bet against you. I literally can tell you how your day is going to go based on where I bet. If I bet on you, you're going to have a terrible day. You almost should just pay me not to bet on you so you get a decent finish, because I want to back you in all these matchups. And I'm talking to him like he's here, right? But he's kind of my kryptonite. I can't win when I bet on him or bet against him. But he has a good car. If I trust Eric Almirola today, I can't believe I'm saying that, because even with my buddies that bet on NASCAR that don't know anything about it, say that he's like a range player. To the back, it looks like right now Logano's headed back to the rear. So unfortunately, no one's really backed him at all. There's a few matchups. I just don't know. Logano was not that good, but I'll get to Logano in a second. I don't know. I trust Eric Almirola. I would definitely have him in DFS lineups if that's what you do. I don't do any of that, but I think Eric Almirola is going to be pretty good. Chase Briscoe, man, didn't look that good in practice. He was in the B group, so you have to take it with a grain of salt. Obviously all those SHR guys qualified well. That's weird to say out loud. All of SHR qualified well, because that's just not something that happens very often. Chase is a guy that he's a good enough driver where he can kind of keep his car up there. I kind of anticipate him running, 7th to 12th all day. I think super long run, you're going to see some of the veterans kind of kick in. But, for the first, 30 or 40 laps of a run, I kind of anticipate everyone kind of being the same, and maybe some more front end speed with, like the Byron, Harvick, Reddick, Kyle Busch guys. I think that those guys have some good short run speed. We'll see who has it in the long run as well. HMS party, we'll get to that. Truex, another guy, like, who has an idea of whether Truex is going to be good or not today? I have no idea. He qualified better than he looked in practice. He was in Group A and pretty trashy in Group A. I'll say that. Didn't think he was very good at all, but qualified well, runs well here. I don't know. I don't have anything on or against Truex. I would not be shocked if he I guess I'd be more shocked if he won the race than if he finished 15th. But man, still not sure how I feel about him. Tyler Reddick, this is as good as Tyler's looked at this track for sure. Yeah, that Bubba 115 plus 115 over Suarez. I'm not sure where that's at, but it was at. I took that one for sure. I took that a little while ago. If you can find that price, I'd like that. Let's see where we. Oh, Tyler Reddick, man. Again, Tyler looks pretty damn good. Short run for sure, and kind of medium run. We don't know what's going to happen in the super long run. I wish we knew. If we had that crystal ball and knew who was going to be good from lap 60 on, I would say we could make some pretty big bets. But at this point, it's so tough. I think Reddick's going to run better than he typically does here, but I still think super long run that there's other cars that are going to be better than him. And when I say super long run, I mean stuff we haven't seen. Like we saw, 55 lap runs in practice. I'm talking like 80 lap runs. Who's good after 80 laps? That's what I would say is a super long run. Yeah, we'll get to Hamlin here in a second. Kevin Harvick. I think Kevin Harvick's really good this week. I think he's one of the guys that in that really long run, he's really good at saving his stuff and just kind of rolling the middle and not burning up his stuff early in a run and kind of saving his brakes for the tail end of these runs. I think Kevin Harvick's going to be really good. It looks like the secret's kind of out on him. I know he was 20 to 1-ish earlier in the week. Now he's kind of 10-ish to 1. Something tells me I still like that price. I think it's a good starting spot for him. If he can kind of roll up into the top 5 in the first 20 laps or so, and then kind of get comfortable, I could see him really clocking off some fast laps. I think could be really good. William Byron on paper, man, it looks like he's just going to shit kick the field again. He was in Group B, and that seemed to not matter. He was just a rocket. Obviously, the market tells us that he's going to be a rocket. I don't have anything on or against him at this point. If you have that 7 to 1 price available, some places I would nibble there. I do think he's going to be really good. This is kind of a deeper starting spot for him, though. In the past, when he's run well, he's been in the top 3. So it'll be interesting to see how starting 8th, if he's able to kind of conserve his stuff and then be there in the long run, because we know Willie B is going to be fast on the short run. But will that matter at this race today? Now, if there's a ton of cautions, that short run speed is going to be really important. But if we see a ton of cautions, we're also going to see a ton of strategy. You're going to see guys, some guys stay out, some guys take tires. And so if we see a bunch of cautions, I don't know that short run is going to matter that much, because I think that guys that have different strategies are going to be able to mix it up a little bit. I do think William Byron looks like the fastest car. If you have money on him, I can't blame you. At this point, I feel like his prices are pretty burnt. If you can get him at maybe 6.5 to 1 to win the race, I think that's a decent price. Otherwise, he's pretty much 4.5 to 1, 4 across the board. I'd rather look to see him live, because I just don't know how good he's going to be on the long run. But short run and in this B practice, I mean, he was really, really good. I think listening to his radio, they were kind of shocked at how good he was as well. Bubba Wallace looks pretty comfortable today. I actually am backing Bubba Wallace in matchups. Yep, it's one of those weeks where I'm going to back Bubba. A couple wins here in the Truck Series. I trust him around here. Hopefully he can just keep his cool, because if he doesn't, he's not going to finish on the lead lap. That's just not something Bubba likes to do when he gets all pissed off. So we'll have to see what happens with that 23 car. I do think that, if you're maybe interested in like a top 10 price, or maybe even I kind of like his top 5 price more than his top 10 price. I just think he's really competitive, really fast in that B group. Pretty good over the long run, and his comments, he seems like he's in a pretty good mood, which actually matters for him, because if he's Bubba top 10 plus 170, that's a pretty good price relative to the plus 140s I've seen out there. I don't think that's a terrible bet at all. Denny Hamlin, or what? Skip Chris Buescher. I'm seeing a lot of Chris Buescher love, and I'm not quite sure why. Like, what am I missing? He was not that good. He was in the A group and didn't have a ton of great laps. I'm not super high on Buescher. He's. I just don't know. I never know with Chris Buescher. Like, I just don't know. So how's that? I don't know. If anything, I would be fading him. I would not be putting anything on him, because there's just nothing that says, bet on him. There's just nothing when it comes to even track history. last year. I don't know. I don't like Chris Buescher, but like I said, I don't have anything on or against him. I know that he is matched up against Eric Almirola. I have not pulled the trigger on that, but who knows what's going to happen between now and the start of the race. Denny Hamlin, again, mediocre in practice, but kind of par for the course, I feel like, for him here. Was decent on the long run. I think Denny's going to be good. Should you be concerned about your Brad K top 10 wager? Yes, you should. I'll tell you that right now. I think Denny's just going to be good. Denny's going to be good. And it looks like markets kind of have him priced like he's going to be pretty good as well. I think he probably should be the second favorite kind of across the board behind Willie B. And that's just because if you look at last night, if you watch the Xfinity race last night, the best car was for sure over the long run, Josh Berry. He found himself in some traffic late, but he was able to drive back up through the field really fast, really quickly. When all of a sudden the rubber built up on the track, he got really fast and was clearly the best car. If things had kind of stayed, hang on, I'll get to that in a second. But if things had kind of stayed green, for a long time, Josh Berry was the best car. So yes, it's important to be good on the short run for obvious reasons, just track position, getting settled in. But man, if you're going to pick whether you'd have a good long run car or a good short run car, I mean, you 100% want a long run car, in my opinion. And Denny Hamlin, he showed us that at Richmond. And even though it was hard to pick up, Denny Hamlin was running such fast laps, 40 laps into a run at Richmond. It actually made his speed after taking tires better. I know that's kind of hard to explain. I've explained it in a matchup or on the Stay Green podcast with Todd Furman before, but I do think 60, 70, 80 laps in, I expect Denny Hamlin to be much better than the rest of the field. Ty Gibbs, not very fast short run, but long run, pretty decent. I don't know. I can't back Ty Gibbs. I just don't trust him. That whole JGR looked kind of average. And I think when it comes to practice times, I do think that means that Denny will be good. It does not mean that Ty Gibbs will be good. I don't have anything on or against him. I expect him to fade. He's made a lot of mistakes this year. But then again, he also gets into the top 10. And I never know when he's just going to run a clean race. If Ty Gibbs clean races, he's really tough. Let's see. Moving on to Todd Gilliland. I don't know. He looked kind of decent in the middle long run, but nothing spectacular. I guess he was in the A group, so kind of I wouldn't say I'm excited about how Todd Gilliland is going to run today. Let me see if there's even some matchups on him. I don't even think you can bet on him. I'm just looking on the screen. They don't even have that McDowell matchup, so I'm just going to skip Gilliland. AJ Allmendinger, good on the short run. He was in the A group, so obviously you have to give him you kind of deduct some points a little bit. I think, man, I thought he was going to be good last fall here, and he wasn't. So I do think he'll be good, but it's just I don't know if he can really conserve his stuff long run. I know he could drive it in there deep in the corner, but I don't know if that means much when it comes to his super long run speed. I think he'll be all right. I think he'll kind of roll right around kind of that 14th or 15th place. Joey Logano going to the rear. I think he's going to have his work cut out for him. He did make some super long runs, but they were slow. He was not good, even relative to other people in the field. I mean, Ty Gibbs was faster than him when it came to these laps, 45 through 50. So I'm not high on Logano, but that's kind of priced into the market at this point. It looks like Blaney's a pretty heavy favorite over him and a couple of I just not high on Logano. I think that he's going to struggle today. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. actually didn't fall off that much. Not a terrible run for old Ricky Spinhouse, but again, this is not his type of track. Can't trust him. I'm not going to put anything on him or against him. Kyle Busch looked good in practice, but kind of another Kyle Busch type practice where probably an 8th place car if you had to put a number on it. I don't have anything on or against him. I'll be looking live. I think it's kind of crazy. It's still 14-1 because I do think he kind of looked like a 6th or 7th place car. But again, what happens at that super long run? Maybe the 8 car kind of comes to life. I doubt it relative to the 4 and the 11, but I think Kyle Busch could be good. Austin Dillon, not good in practice really, and qualified probably better than I thought he was gonna. But again, he was in that B group. I don't know. Austin Dillon, I kind of trust him here. I don't know. Dylan is plus 220 to beat Suarez. I would take that over. Yeah. So see, this is a good question, Kevin. And I'll kind of address Keselowski here in a second, but I want to talk about Austin Dillon. Dillon is plus 220 to beat Suarez. Yeah, I like that. I like that price over him to finish in the top 10 at plus 270. That's Kevin, if that makes sense. Just I like where your head's at. Is you're still getting that over the 2-to-1 price, but I think Suarez could finish like 15th to 20th if all of a sudden he gets shuffled back or ends up on the outside, and next thing you know he's in 10th after 15 laps, and I don't think he's super good on the long run. I think you could see Suarez go to the rear pretty quickly. If that's the case, I would say I think Suarez finishes outside the top 10. So if you think so, you're actually getting value by taking Dillon over him, if that makes sense. Yeah. So I would say I like I said, Chris, Dillon over Suarez versus the top 10, because I don't think he's a top 10 car. I think he can beat Suarez, but I don't think he's a top 10 car. Yeah, AJ over Stenhouse is a pretty popular play. I know that a couple people played that based on the price. Yeah, Cindric looked kind of average. I'll get to him in a second here, but I'm going to kind of keep moving. The cash out of Keselowski, that's probably a decent cash out if you're going to make it. I think he's got an uphill battle to finish in the top 10. He's starting 21st. Just don't know. I'm 50-50 on that. I think that's a coin toss if you're looking to cash out or not. Let's see. Try to stay on task here. Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson looked really good in the long run. Again, he was in that A group. So, he was in the B group. So, I think he'll be pretty good. He won at Richmond. I know he wasn't the best car in the long run, but he did need to save his stuff. If he can carry some of that over to this track, I do think Larson will be good. Again, I'll be looking to live markets for him. Just tough to know, man. It's just that the ongoing theme is we don't know what's going to happen for 65 or 70 laps. And if I knew that, I would love to hammer some of these bets. But also this A and B is really hard. The A's look so much faster than the B's. So, yeah, I'm sorry for your loss, Jacob. No one's going to feel bad for you. The fact you get your prices locked in on a Monday, that's just not going to happen. Michael McDowell. I don't think he's going to be super good. I think he'll kind of be like a non-factor. Again, nothing on or against him. Just no feel at this point. Brad Keselowski, I wish he looked better in practice. He just didn't. The thing is he might race better. If they make some adjustments on that car and they can get him up to where Chris Buescher kind of qualified, I do think that you could just see over a super long run and kind of just a methodical working his way to the front. I think he could maybe get in the top 10, but I think based on the prices right now, it just doesn't look like it. I'm just not super high on Brad K at this point. Chris Bell, holy smokes, was he terrible. This is as bad as he's looked in a long time, and I'm kind of shocked by it. He's a guy you can't fade, though. He could end up winning this race. I don't know. He just gets better throughout the race. Like I said, he's the artificial intelligence. He just gets better and better. I cannot believe he unloaded so poorly. This is tragically slow. But again, he's a dangerous guy to fade. You better fade him with some fast-ass cars if you're going to do that, because you know that he's going to be working his way up through the field. And I expect him to... I don't know. Does he race into the top 10? His lap times were so bad. I just wonder if they missed the setup. I wonder if they got that fixed or not. It's kind of baffling how bad he was. Alex Bowman, I anticipate him to just run a solid race. Whether he gets in the top 10 or not, I'm not quite sure. He's has just kind of an average weekend for Alex Bowman. I think he's going to obviously race better than his 23rd starting spot, but again, don't have anything on him or against him. Chase Elliott, I think could be really good. I don't know. Has anybody heard any reactions from him on how his leg feels? Is it going to affect himself in the car? I just don't know. I think if it doesn't bother him too much, I think Chase Elliott will race in the top 10. And maybe even race for the win. I just don't know what the expectations are. It's really hard unless someone heard any specific interview with how his leg's feeling, but not one of those like, oh, it feels great, I'm glad to be back in the car. That to me isn't helpful. Like if there's someone that like knows him close and it says, hey, his leg actually feels good, it's not bothering him at all, or hey, his leg is bothering him. I just don't know. I know he made a mistake there in qualifying. He looked pretty good in practice though. So in pretty good over the long run. We had like I said, did not see a super long run, but I am very bullish on Chase Elliott. Austin Cindric, I'm not bullish on. He loves to fall off. I don't anticipate him. I would say he's not going to be on the lead lap by the end of this race. If I had to guess, it's just not kind of his thing to be good over super long runs. He looked decent. He was in that A group, so that's a little bit of an advantage. But he fell off quite nicely out of everyone in the A group, so I anticipate more of that out of him. Justin Haley, usually kind of like him in these short flat tracks, but he didn't have short run speed or long run speed. I'm not bullish on him at all. I think if he's just going to have to grind to stay on the lead lap. Corey LaJoie looked pretty good. I plan on him racing a little bit better. He was pretty good overall in the A group. I know that, but pretty solid lap times. I mean, I'm actually, if there was a lot of LaJoie matchups, if there was a way to get down on him, they don't have any, but I'm bullish on Corey LaJoie. I expect him to be running a little bit better, maybe a DFS guy if you're looking at that. Let's see. Eric Jones, not good. Pretty brutal out of that guy, and it shows. I mean, a 28th starting spot and, a pretty big underdog in most of his matchups. I think that's probably properly priced. I don't anticipate Eric Jones having a good day today. Noah Gragson, kind of same thing. I mean, until we see him, put together an entire race without making mistakes, he's certainly a guy you can't back. And I would have no argument against someone giving me an explanation to fade him. He just hasn't been there. And he just won't. He just hasn't run a clean race this year, has he? So I think the only time we'll be talking about Noah is maybe at Homestead. Other than that, we need that whole organization's been struggling. Legacy, same with Eric Jones. So I expect both of those guys to struggle. We're going to skip Anthony Alfredo. Ryan Blaney was damn good in practice. I was really shocked to see that qualifying. I know that I didn't hear an interview with him, but I expect that. When I watch this qualifying, it just looks like he was loose as hell. His wheel was everywhere. But yeah, looking at him live. Here's the thing, though, Kevin. I'd like to see if we can get him live, but he better get on his horse because you're going to start going a lap down really, really quickly. And look who's he going to pass. He's going to pass Anthony Alfredo, Noah Gragson, Eric Jones pretty quickly. I think Corey LaJoie will pass Justin Haley and then kind of stall out a little bit, but it's going to be hard to get by LaJoie, Cindric, and then that Chase, Bowman, Bell, Keselowski, those guys are going to be moving up. So he's going to have to get on his horse early and get really aggressive because you could go a lap down really quickly here. That's the only thing that kind of scares me with this Ryan Blaney situation is he also struggles to drive up through the field. But the thing is, starting as far out as he's starting out, Logano will be back there too, but I think Logano doesn't have nearly the car that Blaney has at all. I think Blaney is going to be way better than Logano. We'll know if Blaney's coming. It's not going to be a secret. Like he'll be flying up through there, and I'm pretty sure the TV will cover him. But I still think he's got some good prices out there to win the race. If you don't have live betting, I think that's a good flyer to have. Harrison Burton, Zane Smith, can't bet on him, so not interested. Ross Chastain. I mean, bad qualifying, didn't look good in practice, didn't have good short run speed or long run speed, and starting 34th. The leaders are going to be coming quick on Chastain. Tough to fade him at this point because he's such a huge underdog in all of his bets. So, Reddick, Harvick, both top 3, 30-1. Oh, Mark, you love a good flyer, don't you? I don't think that they both finish in the top 3. That's a little cannibalistic, right? Because if one person fits in there, it takes away a spot. I do think Harvick, I like Harvick more in the top 3 than I like Reddick for sure. And then I'm not going to go over Ty Dillon and JJ Yaley. Any questions about things? I mean, I know I went through some things pretty quickly. Bell won from 20th last year, lowest starting pool. Yeah, Brian. I mean, here's the thing. Bell could be good. That's the thing. I think Bell ends up in the top 10. When I watched him walking the pits, he was limping. Oh, okay. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts? Who's everyone's pick to win the race? I know I have mine, but I'm wondering if who everyone thinks is going to win. And yeah, what do we got? Anything? All right. Well, I don't see any messages here coming in. They'll probably all come in right at a second because they're slightly delayed. But my pick for today is going to be, we got a Truex. Yeah. Jacob. Yeah, it's a tough one. Byron, because yeah. Oh yeah, pop-up showers are forming. That's so tough. I just can't. That's a good question. It's so hard. It depends on like with lights, is a pop-up shower going to end the race, or is it just going to be something where they are able to turn on the lights and then they'll be fine? Yeah, that'll be tough. That'll be interesting. It depends if they're pop-up showers and where they are in the race. I think, but my pick today is going to be Denny Hamlin. I think Denny Hamlin gets it done. And I just think over the super long run that 11 car is going to be right where it needs to be. I know that he will give up time on the short end and in order to pick up some speed in the long run. And I think that's going to be really important because, man, I was talking about it with Derek earlier. You can find yourself running in the top 10 and all of a sudden you start to lose some grip, or you just get super loose, or the rubber disagrees with your car when it builds up a lot. You go from running in the top 10 to trying to stay in the lead lap 30 laps later. That's how quickly things can happen at Martinsville. So you have to have a long run car to win here. And it might end up that a short run car wins, but you aren't even going to be in the conversation if you don't have a long run car, if that makes sense, because there will be a point in the race when we have a super long run and it's so easy to go a lap down. I mean, we were looking at last year, guys were going a lap down like 22 and 23 laps in. If that's the case, man, there's not going to be a ton of cars on lead lap. And if there's a lot of cautions, you're going to find all sorts of strategies because I do think tires are going to matter. I think we're going to have more fall off. I think that this is going to be an exciting race. Look at the guys we have up front. Priest, Suarez, Almirola, Briscoe, Truex, who hasn't had a great year, Reddick, Harvick, Byron. Byron is probably the best car, right? We can all agree on that. But he's starting 8th, and he hasn't started that far back. I think this is going to be a hell of a race. I think that there's fast cars at the back. We got Blaney back there. You got Chase Elliott back there. You got Bell back there. I'm excited. I think it's going to be a great race. I think Denny wins. He's my pick. I think he got lucky last week with Bell. What the hell? Why would you ever give up track position last week? Like the guys that just decided to pit there, it was so stupid. Like they just gave away the race. I feel like you had to stay out once you're in your window. But all right, well, hey, good luck today. Hopefully that helped. Go Denny Hamlin. I think Denny Hamlin and Kevin Harvick are going to beat in the long run. And William Byron could blow everybody's doors off. Who knows? Cheers. Taking a pull. Good luck. Any championship odds? Championship stuff. I'd have to look at that. Let's touch base. Shoot me a message or something like that. We can talk about it next week. All right. Cheers.